Today we're looking at drying times and we're looking at painting. This whole room has just been plastered and I can show you some evidence of different drying times based on the different substrates that have been plastered onto. Hopefully that'll help you understand how long your room might take to dry out. The drying phase is important because that's when we're waiting to know when it's ready to get our paint on the walls. So I'm going to show you how to do what we call a mist coat. The mist coat is the first bit of paint that goes on to freshly plastered walls. So I'll show you that. I'll give you enough details so that you can also replicate that yourself. So this bedroom was plastered just yesterday morning. So it's about 24 hours now that we're looking at this room. You can see some spots are drying out in particular places. Other spots are still really, really dark and wet. So let's talk through some of these different spaces and why they're drying at different times. So this wall is a good example of different substrates behind the plaster and the different drying times. Down here, I've actually put new plasterboard in to about this wide. So there was a little walk-in cupboard here. That's all been framed and plasterboarded all the way down that section. So that's that bit there. So this being fresh plasterboard, that's sucking in the moisture and is not as thick. So this is drying a lot quicker. This bit here has been built up in layers. So it's got old wall behind it, then it's got some bonding, so thick bonding coat, and then he's had to thicken up the plaster quite a bit in order to get this wall flat. So that's why this bit here is darker. And this bit here has already got some light patches coming where it's drying out quite nicely. And then moving on from this wall, that's in a similar position, this side of the door frame. So again, you can see some darker section, some slightly lighter section. And then this wall over here, the other side of this wall is another bedroom, which is quite a warm bedroom. This actual wall is a block wall. So a lot of the heat transfers straight through to this side. So that's why you can see it drying out much quicker. And then we've got this wall. So there's a bit of a story going on in this wall as to why you've got different drying times. So you can see some drier patches over here because that's getting some heat transfer from the room next door. Then you've got some much drier bits coming down here, largely where the heating pipes are. Although there's no radiator attached yet, the pipes are still warm, so there will be some heat transfer. Although minimal, there is clearly some heat transfer happening down there. And then this side is going to take some while to dry out. And then that takes us onto the ceiling. The ceiling has been skimmed, quite thick. There was quite a heavy Artex in the ceiling, so the plasterer had to go quite thick with that one. As you can see, no signs of dryness at all on the ceiling yet, so that will take a while. So hopefully that gives you an idea of different drying times involved in this room and the reasons why the plaster is going to dry out at different times. How it dries out in your space is completely dependent on what's behind it, but that's what's going on here, and hopefully some of that's relatable to what's going on in your space. What we have to do now is wait. What we can do is introduce a little bit of heat into the room. You could either put the radiator back on and turn it on slowly, just background heat, or put a fan heater in here or an oil radiator, something. You can introduce some background heat. That will definitely aid the drying time. It will quicken it. You've got to be careful that you don't do that too vigorously or else things start cracking, and that's not the result that we're looking for. So patience is needed on this bit. Expect 3-4 days worth of drying time. We're looking for really pale plaster, not the dark stuff. So we're looking for pale plaster, nice and even all the way around. No question about whether it's dry or not. And that's really important that it is at that stage before we start applying the paint. The mist coat will be the first thing we do. And join me next. That's what we're going to start talking about. As you can see, the plaster is now dry. This is a great time. We're going to talk through how to put your first coat of paint onto freshly plastered walls. That's called the mist coat. The mist coat is a mixture of paint and water. So we're going to go through that. I'll show you how to mix it, show you how to apply it, and some of the things that I've learned not to worry about during that phase. We'll go through all of that. After the plaster has been in the sockets in the walls, There's still bits of plaster, loads of dust. On the floor, there's still bits and bobs of dust. I need the room dust-free, because what happens is, when you're rollering your paint on the walls, you pick up these little bits, it ends up transferring onto your walls, and your nice, smooth, freshly plastered walls now have lumps on them, which is exactly what we don't want. So you've got to plan and you've got to prepare. Radiators coming off. I need to have a good sweep up, good tidy up. I need to get all of this stuff off the windowsill. And then I'm ready to mix some paint and get that on. So my preparation phase, that's what I'm going to get on with now. And I'll join you once the room's ready for painting. Okay, so everything's prepared. We've made sure that there's no loose material around that can be picked up on the roller and transferred onto my nice freshly plastered walls. That would annoy me. So everything's clean, everything's ready. Mist coat, the first coat of paint to go onto your wall. This is what we do. So I've got a bucket here, fairly standard bucket, 2 litres. I've got a 10-litre bucket of paint. This is emulsion for interior walls and ceilings. So this is an important step, this one. How I do it is I mix 40% of water to 60% of paint. I've already put 40% of this bucket of water into the big decorator's tub. Now I need to get 60% of this paint into the same tub. So I'll do that now. There's no denying, now I'm seeing you're the reason, yeah. And now I'm just going to mix all that together. Whilst I'm mixing it, you will find all sorts of people telling you different methods of mixing paint for your mist coat. Seems to be quite a contentious topic, if I'm honest, for such a simple thing. If in doubt, check the back of your paint tin. So if anyone's out there listening to me say 40% of water to 60% of paint, that's what it says on the back of the tin, actually. So I'll let you argue with the paint manufacturer, not me. I'd like to thank you for being okay, you get the idea. Mixing paint, isn't it? You can do this in any way you want. You can use a KitchenAid, if that's your fancy. Well, I mean, I probably wouldn't. You can use a paddle mixer on the end of a drill. You can just mix paint. Just mix it. Mix it until it looks consistent. Okay, so that's the paint mixed. What I like to do next is do all of my cutting in on the corners. To be fair, it's not really cutting in. There's not a lot of skill required in this bit. It's just loading the paintbrush up and slapping it into the corners, really. Just want to make sure that it's even. The paint is even when I'm on the wall. I'm not bothered about it looking thick and neat. I just want it flat and even. So all the seams of the walls and the ceiling, everything around the edges of the windows, anywhere it's a bit awkward for a roller, I'm going to get a paint on it. I'm just going to get all those done. And then once that's done, we'll get the roller out and we'll fill everything in. So I'll show you what a mist coat looks like. And we'll talk about that in just a minute, but I'm going to get on with the corners. So here we are. The room has been cut in all the way around, all the bits where the roller will struggle to get into the corners. So I've done that all the way around the window. Yeah, basically just everywhere there's a corner. I'm not too worried about the door frame. I've got some nice architrave to go around the outside of that door frame, so that's going to work out fine. I'll just roller that. Maybe this light switch, I'm going to pull that up slightly off the wall and cut around that with a paintbrush. Other than that, we're now ready for the next steps of rollering. This is great. So what you need is a roller. Personally, I like to use an extension pole. I just screw the two together. Makes life a little bit easier. You're not always bending down, standing up, all that sort of jazz. Makes it easier just to get onto the ceiling as well. So let's extend that out. Right, that's ready to go. My tub of paint that's mixed down there, 40% water, 60% paint. That's ready to go. Now, I dip this in there, give it a good roller, get it on the wall. Again, I'm not looking for the finished article. I'm just looking to get some paint on the wall. Appreciate it's going to be patchy. That's absolutely fine. It's going to take a while to dry out. This whole room, it's only a small room, 2.8 meters by 2.3 meters. Probably going to take me an hour to throw the paint on the wall. I've then got a little while to let all that dry, soak in properly. This recommends 4 hours on the tub. We'll put that to the test. We'll see if it takes 4 hours. So let's get this on the wall and then go from there. What we're looking for, like I say, is a nice even coat. It looks really thin at the minute. Sometimes it's actually even hard to see where the paint has gone on the wall. So just looking for a nice even coat, trying to get all the little sort of raised bits from the edge of the roller, just trying to smooth them in. Once I get enough on the wall, I can go over everything again and just roll everything in so it's smooth and flat. Still looks really patchy. As I say, that's fine. I'm not expecting much more from that. Every now and again you get a little something on the wall. Get it off. Get it off my nicely fresh plastered wall. You too. Thank you kindly. Just a very quick voiceover edit from me. If you're enjoying this video, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. There's lots more videos like this coming up and you will get notified when they become available. Now already in the maybe 3 minutes that it's taken me just to do that bit, this is looking so much thicker. It's bizarre. It goes on really thin and it's like, have I painted that bit? And then a few minutes later you're like, oh yeah, definitely painted it. That's fine. So you kind of just got to get through the job and then just go back at it afterwards and look at it and just appreciate the fact that paint soaks in and then it thickens up. So you can't go too mad on it when you're putting the first coat on. So hopefully now it makes sense as to why I do the paintbrush first into the corners. The trouble with using rollers right into the corners is the little bit of plastic on the end of the rollers tends to sort of score and mark the opposite wall. So I try and avoid that as much as I can. It really frustrates me actually cutting in with a roller and actually wiping paint off or scoring lines in fresh plaster. So easily avoidable by doing the painting method first and then going ahead with your roller and just matching the edge where the paintbrush has done its thing without going too tight into the wall. Okay, so I'm just going to demonstrate something to you very quickly about the first roll of paint when it goes onto a freshly plastered wall. So the first roll of paint almost looks translucent. It looks like there's almost nothing there. What I'm going to do is just do one roll. I'm not going to work it in, I'm not going to do anything. It's causing me to twitch a little bit, but I'm just going to do one roll, leave it, and then I'm going to put a timer on for 4 minutes, and then I'll bring you back and I'll show you what it looks like after 4 minutes. I'm not going to time lapse it. I'm not going to make you sit there and watch it. For you, it'll be like that. For me, I'm going to twiddle my thumbs for a minute or 2 or 4. So let's do that. So that's it. That is 4 minutes. I did actually stand there and watch paint dry for 4 minutes, which is not going to get that back. But what it does show you is that it's tempting to put loads of paint on and really overload it all. And all you're going to do is cause it to blister. As the paint's drying, it's just going to blister. It's not going to adhere very well. Your next layer of paint will go on and it will start pulling the first layer back off the wall. And you're in for a whole world of pain. Freshly plastered walls, lovely and flat and smooth. Now we're mucking it up. So don't do that. Don't be tempted to slap loads of paint on. And we're back to the start again. So this is the wall that I started on. I worked my way all the way around the room, and then I've just finished this wall off now. So you can visually see the two different shades of white as this is just soaking in, and this was done maybe half an hour ago. So hopefully that helps visually as well. Next, I've got to do the ceiling. That'll take me a few minutes. So I'll thread some paint around the ceiling, and then I'm just going to give you some useful tips and tricks, some things I learned, something I wish I'd done before I'd done this room, before I started this video. And then if you're interested in finding out more about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, I've made a whole series called This Time It's Personal. This is my daughter's bedroom. I'm a general builder and I'm doing this bedroom in my days off. So that explains a whole another journey about preparing the walls before plastering. This is just about drying times of plaster and mist coating your walls. But if you're interested in finding out more, then go and have a look at my channel for the other videos. Subscribe for future content. There's lots coming up on this project and other projects, fencing, building, all sorts of different things coming up that's designed to help you learn whilst I do it. And then hopefully you can give some of these things a go in your house as well. So subscribe to the channel. If you can, give this video a like, that'd be great. It helps other people find this video. But that's enough of that. Let's get on to the ceiling. So there we are. The room has been mist coated. I was going to share some top tips and tricks. Use a new roller. Try and not use an old one that you've washed, and try and use it again. Certainly on the mist coat, it's really important to get a good, even coat on this first one. Don't forget to prepare the room. Really important to make sure there's no loose debris or dirt or leftover bits of plaster or anything like that on the floor or in the sockets. As you roll over it, you pick up those bits and bobs and just transfer it straight to your freshly plastered walls. So prepare masking tape if that's something that you need to do if you're not that confident in painting. Masking tape around things that you don't want paint on, so do that as well. One of the errors I made on this job, which I'm not afraid to tell you, I'm rather frustrated that it's happened, but the error that I made is I used an old paint tub that I thought was clean enough. I thought the paint that was left in there would have been hard enough to not come out. I thought I'd done a good job at cleaning that last time I used it. As I get onto the ceiling towards the last sort of 10 minutes of the job, a lot of that paint has softened in the tub where the new paint is just sat in it for a while. And unfortunately, it's loosened up a few old little bits of paint, which have now transferred onto my ceiling. So that has frustrated me, but that's just me being open and honest. I'm going to have to wait till that dries now, go along and sand it off a bit, and re-prime it probably. So it's made my job a little bit longer because my preparation wasn't spot on. So my advice to you, don't do what I've just done and use an old decorator's tub that's not perfectly clean. Anyway, I hope you found the video useful. That's how to look at your plaster to know that it's ready to paint. That's how to put your mist coat on. After this, it's just about waiting till this is dry, at least 4 hours. And then it's a case of building up the layers until you're ready to put your finished paint colors on or whatever you need to do at that point in time. Thanks again for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you're interested in other videos like this, or other different videos like fencing, maybe some more DIY tasks. It's all coming, so I look forward to seeing you there.